What do you want? What do you want to get out of life? What do you want to get out of this video? Why did you click on it? Perhaps you didn't know what you were doing stumbling into YouTube after getting hungover on TikTok. Maybe you like the color of this thumbnail, or maybe you too want to know what it takes to be satisfied. Look around. People are bored. They're looking for something different. Think about your first girlfriend or boyfriend, or that new job, or that new living situation. Remember how that felt at first? It was good, right? But something happens after the new thing becomes the old thing. You lose your first delight. Maybe you're thinking this is all there is to life. Did you ever ask why you might feel this way? It's because we were made to be satisfied, but we're looking in the wrong places. Hi, I'm Alex Sikma. I'm the host of the podcast Disruption, where we disrupt culture and center Christ. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and share this video with others. Now, this video is based on a book I read by Tim Keller called Making Sense of God. So if you guys like this type of content or you want to check my work, you can find the link to this book in the description below. Now, in the next few chapters of this video, I'm going to provide some shallow solutions to this whole satisfaction problem, but keep watching until the end when we reveal the ultimate answer to satisfaction. The young people these days believe that the best stuff delivers the greatest happiness. That happiness leads to emptiness. It leaves us discontent because we haven't yet achieved fulfillment. My pastor back at my old church, Louis Kanapka, once said, "We can trip ourselves up, longing for the good part, that we miss the essential part of maturing ourselves to get to the good part." In our waiting to get around that bend to satisfaction, we often miss other things along the way, like suffering, hard work, serving others, and spending time with family. These can be humbling circumstances that we want to bypass, but they are sometimes essential to life, and they can teach us satisfaction in the lesser things. Unfortunately, in our youthful endeavors to achieve satisfaction, we, says Tim Keller, are not getting it. We blame the obstacles in the way of our achievement. We can blame institutions like political parties, our jobs, and our schools. We blame individuals like our spouse, our boss, our coworkers, our teachers. We could play the victim card and blame society. We could blame it on prejudice or a lack of freedom. The actions that we might take might be complaining or activism. These things don't work in our hunt for satisfaction. This leads us to our next coping mechanism. If we can't blame individuals or institutions, maybe we can blame the items. We blame the things that get in the way of our happiness. You say you want a better job, a better income, or a better spouse. Then you'll be happy. Psychologists call this the hedonist treadmill. You're going nowhere, but at least you're getting there fast. Eventually, you run out of energy. You burn out in life. You have nowhere left to go. But Tim Keller writes that after you've tried all these options, you realize you have no one else to blame but yourself. Well, let's say that you removed the obstacles that kept you from achieving success. You haven't received happiness, it. You still assume it exists. So you feel like a failure, that you haven't worked hard enough, or you're not attractive enough. Francis Spufford writes in his book Unapologetic that you're a being whose wants make no sense. You will be lying in a bath and you notice that you're 39 and that the way you're living bears scarcely any resemblance to what you think you've always wanted. Yet you got here by choice, by a long series of choices for things which, at any one moment, temporarily outbid the things you say you wanted most. You can't satisfy yourself, so you turn to improving the lives of others through giving and serving. While this is a good thing to do, it can be selfish. It makes us feel valued when we value others. Nietzsche called this a sense of moral superiority, where modern people believe they are morally superior to their past or to previous eras and societies. Helping others for the sake of your happiness does not work long term, because you feel contempt when you recognize your efforts weren't respected enough. But if you are genuinely helping the poor and being altruistic, you should know that these efforts may go unnoticed at times. Not everyone becomes famous like Mother Teresa. If you get older or view older people yourself, you may find that they have simply given up on finding happiness or satisfaction in life. Their solution is just to lower the bar. All right, let's say that you aren't happy with your job. You don't get 6 figures a year, or you're not president of the United States, and you didn't get to marry that supermodel, darn it. But you know that you'll never be president of the United States, you'll never earn 6 figures a year, and you're dating someone who's okay looking because, time is ticking and you gotta marry straight away. And sliding into DMs leads to more ghosting, which leads to more depression. All right, so you get desperate. What do? Well, your first solution is to tell yourself your expectations are a little too high. You're shooting for the moon and you should lower the bar. So you stick with the job and you don't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, well, you might find you marry the one you need and keep going. Now, it's not that lowering the bar is totally bad, but does lowering the bar work for everyone? What if it saps your desire to build anything worthwhile? There comes a point when stopping the striving and sitting where you are means giving up a little bit of your human spirit. Tim Keller says, "If you decide that fulfillment, joy, and happiness are not there, and you harden your heart against hope, you can dehumanize yourself." Are there any options left? Well, there is a final sort of answer to the problem of satisfaction offered by the world, before I give mine. Not to love, not to hope, not too much anyway. I'm not here to teach Stoicism in its entirety or present its complete argument, but I will mention a figure from the movement named Epictetus, who said, "What harm is it while you are kissing your child to say with a lisping voice, 'Tomorrow you will die'?" Epictetus wasn't at all a mad child killer. He was just trying to balance the idea of human love with the reality of tragedy happens. So when it does, don't buy into this love stuff too much. You're too emotionally involved. Now, detachment differs from cynicism. Tim Keller would say it is a better argument than just making fun of the idea of satisfaction, but it still dehumanizes you and diminishes your love towards others. That's a significant issue. In a post-Christian world, we know all too well that loving others is, kind of important for society to flourish. Loving other people, society's flourishing, they kind of go hand in hand. Now, you might think to yourself, these coping strategies that we've mentioned before, they aren't so bad, right? They work for some time, right? But they're still coping mechanisms. They're missing the answer, Jesus. Is Jesus in your world? If not, I know what you might be thinking. Christianity's not my world. It's not my thing. I don't believe your answer helps my situation in life. You're right. Jesus is not part of your world in the sense that he isn't the answer that most people of this world are chasing. People chase money, power, and sex to find satisfaction. These things don't work. Why? C.S. Lewis once said, "Creatures are not born with desires unless satisfaction for those desires exists. A baby feels hunger. Well, there is such a thing as food. A duckling wants to swim. Well, there is such a thing as water. If I find in myself a desire which no experience in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation was that I was made for another world." You're hunting for satisfaction because you're hunting for something beautiful. You might wonder, what's the connection between beauty and satisfaction? People think of beauty in terms of aesthetics and form, right? So satisfaction is a feeling you get inside when you experience peace, comfort, and happiness. You might be asking then, how do beauty and satisfaction connect? Well, they're connected by longing. The beauty of a marriage is a signpost pointing towards the marriage of God and his church. And that's the last phase where we can rest when it comes to dating and marriage and those kinds of things. All that was before was only a signpost. You might be thinking to yourself, hey, my girlfriend is beautiful, or he's hardworking, he's got a great job. Those things are only signposts that are leading you towards marriage. And marriage is leading you to Christ and his church. C.S. Lewis, in his book Pilgrim's Regress, talks about how the signposts aren't satisfying in themselves, they were never meant to satisfy. The moment that you look to your relationship to give you satisfaction and fulfill your needs is the moment your relationship loses purpose and meaning. The relationship is going away. It's giving way to something else. The signpost of dating or marriage is beautiful, and its beauty makes people long for something beyond themselves, something even more beautiful, until it gives way to its ultimate source, which is God. You long for a marriage, you long for a dream job that will compensate you well and fulfill your purpose and give you meaning. We long to travel the world, we long to climb a mountain, we long for what the view will be at the top, and once you achieve, the longing stops, but only temporarily. Something I think that you and I need to remember is that discontentment is driven by desire. What would be the Christian case of looking at it? Is desire good? Well, desire points to something, so we should ask whether desire is pointing to something good. Do you want it so badly that you're willing to exploit it by chasing after a cheapened version of the good thing? And I'd say maybe on the guy's side more so, porn is a major problem. And then for the girl's side more so, not completely, social media is the problem. And both of those things have ruined the dating scene in some sense. There are statistics that show that 80% of men and 42% of women have been exposed to pornography in the United States last year. Most of us can see that as a huge detrimental problem. You see, we can't grasp it. It is short-lived, right? It is only a signpost. It's pointing towards something greater than itself. What we were made for determines what we desire. Meaning and purpose are derived from that, and satisfaction is deeply rooted in what we are. Asking how we can be satisfied raises deep questions about what a human is and what he or she is meant for, which demands we answer where we come from or who. See the world through a biblical lens. Look at your surroundings. This is where God has placed you. Work in it, work through it. The source of good is God. But because we have sinned, we have fallen short, we lost our source of good. God's solution for that is redemption. God re-enables your contentment. No matter what you do to fix the gaping hole in your soul with the previous options, you can't do it alone. And because of sin, we've gotten ourselves trapped in our own hole, and we pursued sin, try to get satisfaction from it, but it left us even more unfulfilled. Augustine said it well. You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our heart is restless until it rests in you. Paul says in Philippians 4:13, the verse we all like to spit out of context, to be content in all situations. Paul endured a snake bite, jail time, shipwrecks, and he was content about it. Paul says that the secret to contentment comes from who God is to us and how he provides to us what we need. So how does God provide for your needs? Or how does God provide for my needs? Well, if we go back to our despairing example, if you are despairing, you are deeply unsatisfied with yourself. Well, God provides redemption from sin, not because you are enough, but because God is merciful and gracious and he is enough. Life is fulfilling not by living for ourselves, but by living for what's beyond ourselves. What is beyond ourselves? The glory of God. C.S. Lewis said it this way: aim at heaven and you will get the earth thrown in. Aim at the earth and you will get neither. Desire is satisfied only when it points to something good. Remember our signpost example? It needs to be pointing to something really good, like the source of all good. As Paul points out in Philippians 4, the source of all good is God. So if you find satisfaction in who he is and what he has done and what he will do for you, you will find it. I love Psalm 37 verse 4, which says, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. Now this verse isn't saying that whatever you ask for, like a Lamborghini, God will just give it to you. But the psalm implies that when you delight yourself in God and pursue him, your desires will be reshaped, that God will provide you with those desires. It's not just enough to know that, it needs to be practiced. Practicing takes time. Unfortunately, it doesn't come overnight, my personal experience, but instead degree by degree. I am still in the process of learning that. For some reason, I still swing into moods where I think that what I have accomplished isn't good enough unless I'm famous or influential or whatever, which doesn't make sense because you know what will happen when someone becomes famous and influential? Yep, they are not satisfied. They are just driven to want to pursue more and more and more. But it's worth noting that aiming towards achieving and accomplishing points towards this idea that we were made to do something worthwhile, and that has to come from God. My point is that satisfaction in God can also come from working a God-honoring achievement. The dependence on what Christ did for you and who he is where satisfaction resides. That knowledge and experience are usually attained over time in your relationship with Christ. My name is Alex Sikma, and I'll catch you on the flip side.